The courtroom smelled like sweat and desperation, the kind of air that sticks to your skin when truth and lies collide. Karen's high-pitched screech from the defendant's table sliced through the murmurs like a knife. "I didn't steal anything's lying." She was a woman who thrived on control, her blonde bob perfectly sprayed, her designer purse a shield against the world's judgment. Karen Miller, 47, had built a reputation in her suburban enclave as the queen of complaints, the one who'd argue with a barista over a misspelled name or berate a neighbor for a leaf blower's hum. But today, she wasn't facing a flustered cashier. She was staring down John Carter, a 62-year-old disabled veteran whose life depended on the medical bag she'd allegedly snatched from his truck. The bag held his insulin, his pain meds, his lifeline. Without it, John had spent 3 days in a hospital, his blood sugar spiking to near-fatal levels. The room buzzed with outrage, every eye locked on the unfolding drama. John sat in his wheelchair, his hands trembling not from age but from fury. His face, weathered by years of service and chronic pain, told a story of sacrifice Karen could never fathom. He'd lost his left leg in Iraq, his right knee to shrapnel, and his patience to a world that often overlooked men like him. The medical bag wasn't just a badge, it was his survival kit, meticulously packed, always kept close. He'd parked his truck outside the local pharmacy, the same one where Karen had been seen arguing with the staff over a coupon. Witnesses said she'd stormed out, furious, and in her rage, she'd grabbed the bag from John's open passenger seat, mistaking it for her own. Or so she claimed. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Elena Ruiz, laid out the case with surgical precision. Security footage showed Karen's red SUV parked next to John's truck. It showed her snatching the bag, tossing it into her back seat, and speeding off. The footage was grainy, but the act was unmistakable. Elena's voice rose as she described John's ordeal. 3 days in the ICU, his family terrified, his body pushed to the brink. "This wasn't a mistake," Elena said, pointing at Karen. "This was entitlement. This was cruelty." The crowd murmured, a low growl of agreement. Karen's defense attorney, a slick man in a pinstripe suit, spun a different tale. He painted Karen as a stressed single mother, overwhelmed by a bad day, who grabbed the bag thinking it was hers. "An honest mistake," he insisted, his voice smooth as oil. "She returned it when she realized." But the timeline didn't add up. Karen hadn't returned the bag until the police showed up at her door, 2 days after John's hospitalization. And when they did, the bag was missing half its contents, insulin vials cracked, pain meds gone. Karen swore she hadn't touched them. "Maybe they were stolen from me," she cried, her voice cracking with indignation. The gallery scoffed. A woman in the back muttered, "Unbelievable." John's testimony was the moment the room held its breath. He wheeled himself to the stand, his eyes never leaving Karen. His voice was low, steady, but every word carried the weight of his pain. "I served this country for 20 years, he said. "I fought for people like her to live free, and she took my meds, my health, my dignity, and called it a mistake." He paused, his jaw tight. "I almost died because of her." A woman in the front row wiped tears from her cheeks. The judge's face softened, just for a moment. Karen took the stand next, and the tension in the room thickened. She was polished, her makeup flawless, but her hands fidgeted, betraying her nerves. "I'm not a monster," she began, her voice trembling with rehearsed sincerity. "I grabbed the bag by accident. I was distracted, me son was sick. My job was on the line. I didn't know it was his." She pointed at John, her tone sharpening. "He's making it sound like I targeted him. I didn't even know he was a veteran." The room erupted, the judge banging his gavel to restore order. A man in the back shouted, "Liar!" Karen flinched, but her eyes flashed with defiance. The prosecution tore into her story. Elena presented text messages from Karen's phone, sent to a friend the day after the theft. "Found a bag full of drugs in my car. Jackpot!" The crowd gasped. Karen's face paled, her lawyer scrambling to object. Elena pressed on, showing receipts of Karen's attempts to sell the pain meds online. The evidence was damning, but Karen doubled down, claiming the texts were a joke, the listings a misunderstanding. "I'm being framed," she shouted, her voice shrill. The gallery's anger was palpable now, a living thing pressing against the walls. The trial stretched over 3 days, each one more charged than the last. Witnesses painted a picture of Karen's pattern of petty confrontations, a sense of entitlement that left a trail of resentment in her wake. A pharmacist testified about Karen's tantrum over the coupon, how she'd stormed out muttering about teaching them a lesson. A neighbor recounted Karen's habit of parking in handicapped spots, claiming she only needed a minute. Piece by piece, the image of a woman who saw the world as her personal stage emerged. John's family took the stand, too. His daughter, Sarah, a nurse with tired eyes, spoke of the terror of watching her father seize in the ER, his body betrayed by the absence of his meds. "He's a hero," she said, her voice breaking. "He doesn't deserve this." The contrast between John's quiet dignity and Karen's theatrical denials was stark. The courtroom, packed to the brim, felt like a pressure cooker ready to burst. On the final day, the judge's verdict was swift. Karen was found guilty of theft and reckless endangerment. The crowd exhaled, a mix of relief and vindication. Karen's face crumpled as the sentence was read. 2 years in prison, restitution to John for medical costs, and a public apology. She sobbed, but her tears felt hollow to those who'd watched her lie. John sat still, his expression unreadable. As Karen was led away in handcuffs, someone in the gallery clapped, and the room followed, a slow, deliberate applause that felt like justice. But the story didn't end there. John's health never fully recovered. The 3 days without his meds had done irreversible damage, his diabetes now harder to manage, his pain constant. He moved in with Sarah, unable to live alone anymore. The community rallied around him, raising funds for his care, but the betrayal lingered. Karen, from her cell, wrote letters claiming she was the real victim, her reputation destroyed by a witch hunt. The letters only fueled the town's disdain. The case became a local legend, a cautionary tale about privilege and accountability. It sparked debates in coffee shops and online forums. Was Karen a product of her environment, or was she simply selfish? Did the punishment fit the crime, or was it too harsh? The handwritten note on that courtroom bench, "Stolen valor, stolen hope," became a symbol, photographed and shared, a reminder of the cost of carelessness. This wasn't just about a stolen bag. It was about a man who'd given everything and a woman who took without thinking. It was about a community forced to confront its values, its heroes, and its villains. What do you think, was justice served? Or did the system fail someone here? Share your thoughts, because this story isn't just Karen's or John. It's ours to judge.